everyone. Thank you so much for coming to my YouTube channel, Sunset Peonies. And I thought I was done. And so I'm doing the intro actually, and I realized that I forgot to sneak quin violet into these. And so when you watch my video through, you will see that why I do things like that. I have explanation. I actually talk about that a lot. And for those of you who has been to my channel, and this is not the first time, you know why I do that, right? Put quin violet into dioxazine purple. Okay, and I just realized that I forgot to do that, and so here I am doing some of that. Okay, now I'm really done. At least I am. I hope I am, but I reserve the right to change my mind. Anyway, thank you very much. And it's springtime. At least we're hoping that Utah have spring. We are all worried about flooding because of the wet winter that we had, and so now we are the snow cover is finally melting, but it is a scary time because when things melt, that means them open another can of worm, right? The river might flood, and we have reservoir, and we also have creeks around here that actually are not regulated, so to speak. It's just a free running natural creeks, and people have houses that are very, very close to them. And so last week my husband and I actually volunteered to go put sandbags, and we worked for a couple hours and made a lot of sandbags, a big pile of sand. But that was really fun because we have friends around us, and we were joking and talking and working at the same time. But when the snow melts, the flower come up. But since this is the violet, actually, if you when you go through this video, you can also see why I picked this flower at this time. Has to do with my mother-in-law and her love, this I would call it an ancient flower. I just absolutely love them. I love the pansy, but I love the violet. So I have tried, and I realized that maybe using a little bit of dry brush maybe better than the softer one, for the main flower. So that's why I make that decision. And I also talk about a lot of color combination and making mud, and why I put this right next to each other and not make mud. And so you can go through the whole thing, because I bring this back because I just posted a video of the problem shooting about the problem of mud, and so I have very nice skill for beginner to not worry about it too much, okay? And how we can overcome it. And then in this painting I also use some advanced skill too, and you can pick, and whatever level you're in, then you can try to do this. I intentionally, because in nature the purple and the yellow exist in one same plant all the time, and so nature does that, and so I try to mix them and put it right here because that's the palette we're using, and so we can give ourselves time to practice. And I hope you like this, and I hope you will have fun with doing this with me. And you, for drawing, I guess I need to go do a line drawing, don't I? I just draw this on the watercolor paper, and so I will go and get a line drawing so you can follow along, and go to my blog sunsetpeony.com and look for this violet post, and then you'll be able to find it. And sorry. and the line drawing. Now remember, my line drawing is always at the bottom, so I have to write a lot of stuff because my daughter told me to. There's a certain number of words that Google like, and so and then at the very bottom, then you will see a really simple drawing of this. But also I tell you that if you go through a lot of pictures and you see violet that you like this one it really looked like a fairy, and this one also looked like fairy, and I'm trying to do another fairy, that is like to explore the mind of a child when they're out playing and trying to pick violet for mommy for Mother's Day. And so when the time when kids actually do that. And so that was what my inspiration was as I was doing this. And so I hope you have fun, and you can get the line drawing, and please subscribe to my channel and say hi to me if you want. I better sign this, and I will stop talking and let you get started. Thank you. Okay, I think we should get started. Let me try to focus this better and see. Okay, it's working. Now, today we are doing this lovely violet, and so we should get started, and I'm going to show you a little bit of my paints because I told someone that I will show a little bit more. Now, the water content of today's painting, we are trying to get it as dry as possible. So I actually get my, I'm going to wash my brush, my pretty flow brush, and then I'm going to dab this, right? Now, in my last YouTube post on problem shooting, I go into a lot of detail on how to do that over and over again, right? Just make sure the brush is kind of damp, but not dripping wet, okay? And you guys wanted to see how I pick up my paint. And so I thought that I should have shown you last time, but now this is my little lump that I cut out of a tube of paint from Daniel Smith because I want pure pigment. It's dioxazine purple, but and so when I'm painting, usually this is my little dish, okay? I might have a little bit of a muddy situation over here, but that will be easily fixed by me. But usually what I do is I just like pick up the paint from here. If I want the first layer to be a little bit not as intense. If I want something really, really intense, then I will go into this little clump over here and actually try to pick up, you know, from the pigment over there, okay? So that's what I do. I have somewhat of very intense pigment, but the reason why I do that is because I'm going to now you can see that this is very dry, right? And so the reason why I can afford to pick up a little bit more intense pigment is because now as I go towards the middle, I would like to think that it will be well, let's just put it this way. I choose to have this, and so I'm trying to soften this edge and pull out the pigment right here, okay? I want the middle to be a little bit less intense and be a little bit whiter, so to take full advantage of, okay, I'm grabbing a little bit of dilute pigment, okay, because that wasn't quite enough of pigment to move it to the middle, okay? So this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to come back because this is relatively need to be kind of, okay, cleaning my brush, okay? I'm not going to go through this process a lot because then it will take more of my gigabyte, right? And then I'm going in the pigment, okay, and doing the same thing, okay? Now I can see as I put in there, that doesn't look like there's gonna be enough pigment, so I went back and give myself a little bit more of a pigment there, and then I'm going to do this as the first layer, okay? And you'll see what I'm talking about, because I have tried a few different ways actually to paint this violet painting, and I find out that this is probably the best way for me. And now I'm going to have a clean brush, okay, come over here and pull out the pigment, and so this middle part, like this middle part here, is a little bit lighter, okay, just a little bit lighter like that. Now, so what I'm going to do is show you, because Utah, right, like my last the problem shooting on the mud. Now this side is already dry. Now I'm going to use well, I think that I'm going to try, okay, just go back and forth. And if you have any, okay, this brush is the Daniel Smith 2204, which is some of the artists call it as garbage, but sometimes garbage work with me, and so I like it. But they discontinue it. But you can just get any synthetic brush that are kind of coarse, okay? They're kind of coarse, like that is a synthetic brush. This is a synthetic brush, okay? They're kind of coarse, and because I wanted to be able to get as much, you know, use as much of a dry pigment for the second layer to portray the violet, okay, the intensity of the violet, okay? So this is the bottom part, and this brush is now full of kind of dry-ish, but not too dry, you know, and I'm going to try to give it a little bit of a dry brush effect, okay? So in this painting, you will have a lot of chance to do that. And these little line over here I'm not going to soften it. I'm just gonna leave it be, okay? Let's see me do it one more time, okay? So the brush is relatively damp, but not dripping, of course, okay? And then I'm going to, pick up some of the pigment. I think there's too much, so I dab some of it off, okay? And see, what I'm have been trying to tell people is, with doing watercolor, a lot of times you don't see it because it's so natural to us, but a lot of time we are actually trying to fix problem, rescue ourselves the whole time, okay? Because my brush had a little bit of more pigment, so I'm just gonna come over here and just maybe do a little bit more line. The reason why I'm doing it this way is because I was trying to do it the other way, with a little bit more of what do I call that? A little bit more of watercolor soft with a little bit more moisture effect, and I find out that it didn't turn out very well. One is probably because of the nature of the dioxazine purple, but in other painting though, we would be able to use a softer effect, meaning there's a little bit more moisture and we can drop in the color. But for this violet, I'm going to try to avoid that as much as possible. Okay, too much moisture. So, the whole time that I'm painting and chatting and talking with you guys, in my mind, I'm going to have that. Now I'm going to pick up some gentle soft pigment and do this one. In my mind, I'm going to keep reminding myself, Kathy, don't use the high moisture, being able to drop in color, because that is, because I tried, like I told you, that I like to practice before I come in and do my video, and I find out that the first painting, I didn't do a painting, I'm softening that area. The first time I tried to use a more of a wetter brush, it didn't work. Now, so since this brush is not wet at all, you can see that it dries really fast. Okay, now I'm gonna go right against the other petal. You know that I'm very brave that way, because I don't enjoy leaving a lot of white in between petal. Sometimes I use white to reserve space, but not in that way, okay? I'm leaving this area over here, and you will know what I'm going to do in a minute here, okay? Now, so softly, there is a layer of, and then I'm going to go back to that coarse little brush. I felt really bad that it's a kind of brush that you guys can't get a hold of, but the problem is, my brush is at the last leg, this brush here, and I like it so much, but they don't do that anymore. I don't think I'm significant enough on YouTube right now. As of right now, you can see though, right? Okay, the second layer of the dry brush effect. So that's what I'm gonna try to do right there. I'm not significant enough that I think Daniel Smith will even bother to listen to me, because a lot of artists, I think, didn't like this brush. But you can see that how this brush has its use, right? You can see that how when we're flicking it on the paper, it does leave a little bit of a mark. But all I want is just a little bit. I don't want a lot of marks over here, because that's not how violet looks like. And so I'm gonna just gently do that, okay, and hope that I will be able to get some line effect. I feel like in this way, if we do it this way, we can intensify violet to the rich color of violet, right? But without messing it up or making it really okay. So that is this is our first violet, and so I'm going to just leave everything have a chance to dry, and for now, okay, and then I will show you what I'm gonna do. Now, as I was this is really fun, because I was now I'm going to do the leaf part. You will know what I'm talking about. Did I lose a little brush? Right here. Okay, and this is also a synthetic brush, but it's quite little. It's a 0. This is one that I used to use for fine line, and it lost its purpose because 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 of synthetic nature, and see the hair is about to split over there, right? And so I'm using it. I don't throw it away. Now this is my green mix. If you guys like really want to, I'll do it a little bit. Okay, now this is my prylene green and my sap green. Now, because from what I understand, the leaf of the violet actually can have some sap green in that, so that's how I mix them, you know, together. You know, it's still quite watery, and then I'll just kind of pick up that puddle over there, okay? And then I'm going to do, what I'm going to do right now is this other pretty pretty blossom over here. And because it's fine, I can use this brush, right? It's kind of in a small area, and then it had pointed area, and so I like the pointed nature of this brush. And I know that you guys you know, like to ask me sometimes about brushes and such, and I always give you the same answer, right? If you are you know, want to find a brush that you like, the only way that you will like a brush is to get to know it. Just spend your time and do a lot of painting, 4 or 5 painting before you decide to throw them out, or that you don't like them for some reason. Now, but I always like, as for me, I always like a very pointed, you know, because if I don't need the pointed shape of the brush, then I don't need it. But if I need it, then I really need it, right? And so I would be, you know, calling for it. And that's the only way that get me frustrated with the brush is, of course, it's split easily, or the point is not point enough. So the time that when I needed the point, I really need it, and so I would, you know, want it. So there's a little bit of a green over here, next to this main blossom over here. So I'm gonna try to paint that. Okay. Just paint that a little bit of green, because that's what I see. That's what I see when I was painting. Okay, the same thing. I'm going in to pick up the same puddle from my pigment, and then try to get this one. I'm trying to, I really think that the green part of the violet is really pretty. So I'm trying to pick that up as much as I can. Now, this is just like a flat color, okay? So in order for me to, I'm going to, for me to make it more of a form instead of a flat, I'm going to go into the prylene green strict. It's very dry, okay? So I come in and wet it a little bit. I take a little bit of water, okay? And so I'm dipping in actually the very intense part of the pigment. And so what I'm trying to do is like kind of maybe go over here and apply a little bit of the pigment randomly here and there to show the form, and then I will come and soften it. Okay, so it's not just that sap green color, it has a little bit of the prylene green, okay, for the more shadowy part. And I hope that I can, I'm gonna do another one so you can see it right over here. Okay, just gonna put in a little bit more of a sap green down here to make it more look like a form of a pyramid instead of just a flat triangle on the page. Okay, I think that's what I'm trying to do. And in the area where it recedes a little bit, okay, here and there, because sometimes with like small painting like that is very hard. Look at how I abuse my brush, right? You can see that it's flaring out, and a synthetic brush usually cannot take that much abuse from me, and I know that I felt bad. But as for more of a real hair kind of brush, they can actually bounce back into their shape easier. I guess nylon. I don't know if this is nylon, if synthetic brush used nylon. Okay, and so while I'm here, I might as well use this little brush and then go pick up my pigment. And this is cadmium yellow medium, okay? Because I know that this is a very intense of dioxazine purple painting, so I wanted to have, I know that some species or some form of the violet do have a little bit of yellow. And so maybe we'll have one on this and this flower, this blossom right here, which we are gonna work on right now, okay? And we'll go back to our flow brush, kind of clean it up and pick up, okay? I'm not going to show you that much more about how I pick up the pigment because you have seen it. You know, oh, I don't know how long I've been doing this because I've been planning to do a violet, and I'll tell you why I wanted to do that. I've been researching and looking at a lot of pictures, I go through a lot of pictures, and I find so many cute. I'm leaving that so I can move the color out, okay? Just gently move the color out and soften that a little bit, okay? And so I saw a lot of, and I'm going to leave that alone because it's a little too wet for my liking. And I saw a lot of different form, and some of the form of the violet really looks like, what do they look like? They actually look like they are fairies. And I can imagine how, you know, and this is something that I wanted to ask you guys and see how you think, how you feel about this. Now there's a little square, little area of a space there. You know what I'm gonna do? In order to fill it out, I'm gonna go back to my little brush, and I'm gonna go into the Payne's gray, okay? Now because you know why? And because Payne's gray, if it runs into next to the, what I want is a big shadow over here. Not a big shadow, a tiny little shadow, okay? Because this is the background, right? You won't be able to see, so usually it's just a shadow. Okay, so to see, I just put a shadow because this brush is so fine, then it actually would be able to do so, okay? And I pull the color out, soften the edge, and soften this edge so it kind of blend into the background, okay? So that I won't have any surprises until I'm ready to deal with that area, okay? And then go back to the other brush, my trusty flow brush, and you know, and go get some more color over here. And because I do all these research and see all these little different shape of the flower, is just very delightful. And like I just wanted to tell you, I can imagine that. Now, I haven't seen violet in my Utah area. I don't know if, you know, you guys can also tell me, violet might be a flower that is not very trendy anymore. You know, nowadays people like pansies. And so I haven't really seen violet. And so I'm wondering if that is the reason, because it is an old-fashioned kind of flower. But I really like it because it's old-fashioned, and that was, well, and also we are approaching Mother's Day, right? And so I really would like to have something that, you know, I know Mother usually like this violet because my husband's mom really like it. And it's really funny because I go visit her and I don't really pay attention to the plants that's in her house. And I saw a little cup, a little pretty antique cup of a violet there, and I told myself, oh wow, that's a very sweet and very intense of a pretty blue purple kind of color. I assumed it was real. I assumed it was real. I never questioned it, and I, you know, never really talk about it or think about it because it was on her windowsill. And the next time I go visit her, it's still there. And so, well, you know, and I'm not like, I mean, sometimes I'm quite dense, but not that dense, right? So I realized that it is not a real plant. And so I went and asked my mother-in-law if she liked violet, and she said violet is one of her favorite color, not color, favorite plants. And I say, you know, is it because of the intense blue color? And she said, yeah, it's just a very sweet plant. And you know, so I often wonder, is it because it's not that trendy anymore, so people don't really, you know, talk about it, or they don't sell it that much anymore, and I don't see it. But from the picture that I see about violet, I see them all over, you know, like sometimes they grow on cracks, and it look like that it is a very primary species, you know. and that it must exist, for a long time in the history of, as far as we can know, right? And I am wondering why, because the older people like it because they once used to see that a lot. You can see that I'm dry brushing that, okay? I'm changing to this brush, and I'm gonna do a little bit over here, okay? Not a lot, just for that effect, so it's not too watery, okay? This is a little bit watery for my liking, and so I'm just gonna let it go, let it dry, so I don't have to, so I make sure that the watery part is not going to be a problem, okay? Now, so I can see that this part is wet, right? I'm kind of reiterate what we were learning, so I'm gonna stay away from it, but this part is dry, so I can just do a little bit of dry brush, okay, effect over here. Yeah, and so my mother-in-law really loved violet, and so is her mother, my husband's grandma, also really like violet. And I always scratch my head, and I tell myself, why are they like not selling this in nursery and those kind of things? So, but I think that I realized that this may be a flower that is gone out of fashion. Isn't it kind of sad though, because this is like, to me, it's like a beautiful flower, and I'm kind of perplexed that why flower can go out of fashion, but I guess it does. In China, of course, we love the peonies. Okay, now I'm getting some quinacridone violet, and then I'm going to just gently sneak the reddish violet into this the blossom, okay? Gently sneak that, because that I have discussed that before. And for those of you who it could be your first time and you like violet, and so you come and try to paint along this one with me, I really encourage you, because I talk about a lot of technique in different, of course, right? I can't talk about all the technique in one painting, and so I like to talk about technique in all the different painting. And so and I talk about that, how I don't like to have just one color in one flower. I like to have them kind of, what's the term for it? I like to have them, usually 2 or 3 color, but I sneak the secondary color on it so that it's not like that. Now, since this petal is further back, I might not do the second layer, okay? Just the first layer. And so it will be nice and easy for us, just one layer. And so I wonder if, like, I can see my husband's mom picking up this flower. People don't used to be so rich that they can actually go to. Now there's 2 petals over here, okay? And if I remember, in a little bit I'm going to come in and put a little thin line to separate the petal, okay? Now I'm just dropping a little bit of color in there. Not a lot of that wet method. Not on the flower, but I will as we progress to more of a fantasy kind of background. Okay? I was just saying that I really could see that, like, I really want this brush to be dry, okay? I really can see that how my mother-in-law, my husband's mom, will go outside and pick up, for Mother's Day, right? Because it's kind of springtime, so I know that I went out, even though Utah is still kind of wet, I can see the pansies are going, the pansies are going really well out there. And this will be something, a child doesn't have that much money to, go to the hot house or buy mommy a bouquet, right? And she would be picking out this just to, like a posy. And I also was debating between if I should do a real plant or a posy, and decided that maybe I should just do a real plant. And so that's where we end up right now. Okay, I'm leaving that big white area, and then I dry my brush and come back in to soften that, okay? Soften that, because it's not facing forward, and this part I'm trying to paint it facing forward, okay? So there's a soften. It makes it more like a form of an oval form. Is like a football instead of just a regular oval, okay? And so let's do this blossom over here. And then oh yeah, I didn't have a lot of blossom. The reason is, you know, as I was doing my research of looking at all the flowers, I realized that it is very pretty to cluster them together. You know, from artists that in year past, you know, a lot of them try to do that. Now dry my brush and soften that, okay, because this is further pushed forward. I don't want it to be as intense as the two in the front, okay. And so they are you know, it's very, very nice. And so after you, if you so desire, after you paint along with me, and if you really want to do a big cluster, then you go in and look at all the pictures that you can find on Pinterest or whatnot, and go out and do one with a lot of cluster if you have the time and the, you know, relaxation to enjoy that kind of thing. I think that it will be a very, very fun painting that you can do. Yeah, anyway, and so I realized that there was silk flower on my mom's windowsill, and I've always loved it, and I know that she liked violets. So when I went to, you know, that she passed away recently, and I've talked to you guys about it, so I was busy for a long time, you know, trying to, you know, go with my husband to kind of help her and see her before she leave. And we drive about 6 hours to go to Idaho to see her. And I keep looking at this and I say, you know, I think I should do one in the springtime. And so that's why I'm venturing into this, okay? So I have these, and then I'm going to this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the petals are almost done, except this one I would take a rough synthetic brush, go back to my cadmium, yellow medium, quite thick, because I want the color to lay in thick, okay? And just trying to bring in some of the yellow right there. It just like suddenly bring up the flower, so it's like a little bit more refreshing and very, very nice, okay? And so, oh yeah, I'm missing a little bit of green over here, okay? So I have to decipherate my own drawing, and so I'm going into the, like sometime I'll just go into the sap green that is already on the plate, and then I pick that up, and I know that that's how violet is. They just have this little bit of a lump when they are trying to break loose of the leaf that was covering them. And sometimes it's left there for that one and for this one too, right? And so it's kind of nice to paint them because that's their characteristic, right? And so now this is a synthetic brush number 2, and it's from Jackson's. I think that if you guys really like things like that, I have to mention it, but I'm going into the prylene green, okay? And not very, very intense, you know, just kind of toothpaste. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the vein, the stem that's going into the. Now this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to kind of flick it to follow my own drawing, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to soften it. I'm going to soften that prylene green. And then while the color is still wet, or you can wait until it is dry, I'm going to use some dioxazine purple and just do a dab over here. Now why do I do that? Because I know that in nature, in the plant itself, right, there is the purple, we can see that, and also there is the green, okay? And sometimes their color actually mix together. It makes life very beautiful. I'm going to show you this one, okay? Show you a couple of them. This stem go behind the leaf that I'm going to paint in a second. Okay, and then just a very, very fine line, and then here I am going to soften it. A clean brush, okay, still, and soften it. And while it's softening, then I'm going to go in with the dioxazine purple and just drop a little, okay, just like, well, I need to finish explaining. I also have explained this when I was doing other oh, I missed a little purple over here, okay? Okay, there's a little purple that's coming over here, so we don't want to miss that. Okay, that's just one of the petals of the flower trying to get into their place, okay? So pretty, right? And so, you know, the more you look at the the more you look at the you know, the pictures, you know, the more you can see, and you can see how little kids will go out to get this kind of uh, flower for their mom, and they can see fairies, right? Doesn't they look like fairies? You know, I think that's why kids, you know, with their innocent imagination, they can see so many fairies more than adults. Because, you know, they would just say, oh wow, there's a fairy right there, and this one actually looked like a fairy, that's why I put her there. And I think the snowdrop also looked like fairies. What else looked like fairy? And also that dripping heart. One day we'll go to dripping heart, okay? That one also looked like fairy. I just absolutely love those. Absolutely love those plants, you know, because little kids have imagination, right? And while they were using their imagination, they see things that's not there, and so they you know, I don't know, I have never run into a 4-leaf clover. Have you guys? When my daughter was young, one time we just go outside, my youngest daughter and I really like to in the summertime, we have, you know, when we have nothing to do, nowhere to go, we really like to go outside. Now I'm going to put down these brushes and go into my leaves, and I'm going to use this synthetic brush, okay? Just randomly, you know, and if I don't like it, then I might go back to my other kind, you know, the softer kind of brush, okay? And my mix, and so I'm going to use green, okay, mix the two and just kind of pick up the green that's somewhere over there, okay? And then I'm going to just come over here. I know that there's a little bit of triangle, so I need to get that safely, so you can see that I tuck this leaf behind the stems right here. Yeah, don't you just love it when little kids use their imagination or their, you know, their patience? So I will go out and I will play with my daughter, because when I was growing up, I don't have toys. I have one doll, and it's like a really, really sad doll. And but my mom somehow managed to buy that from me. Oh, you know it, that me, Kathy, love dolls, because another way of my mom, you know, being able to help me to have some toys, you know, to play, is she taught me to hand sew clothing for the doll. And so, you know, and that's the way she probably you know, that's the way she probably wanted me to learn to sew when I'm older. Now I leave that white because I wanted to have some, you know, soften that color, okay? Push the color out and soften the area over there, okay? And if you want this part to be a little bit darker, then you can go in with a more intense color of prylene green, intense pigment, and carry it over, okay? And so I would you know, use the doll to just use my imagination, and then I will look at, you know, what fashion. We don't have Barbie, but this is like a I wouldn't say it's Barbie-like. I mean, it's okay, I'm gonna go in with the prylene green, okay, and do this. Oh, I forgot a stem over here. Let's finish this one. Okay, so we have that little stem. It's the same thing, and then we're gonna come and soften it, and then I put a little bit of a purple, okay, over there. And so I would you know, use my little doll and, you know, try to mix. Now you can see that this is quite dry, right? But don't worry about it. I'm going to get some sap green right now, okay, and just kind of, because I told you in my problem solving last time, I'm going to refer to that a lot, because I really, really want you guys to go and watch that about not making mud, okay? And then you can see that as I do that, it's very kind of, you know, fun, because you can make and then go in with some cadmium yellow light which is looking like it's green right now, okay, because I just put some sap green on it. You can see that, you know, that's my cadmium yellow light, and then I put the green in it so it looks more like a green, and just do the leaf, okay? And these leaves are the beginning stage of the Okay, go back into prylene green. It's the beginning stage of the violet, because the very mature state, the leaf actually was kind of roundish. And I'm not the one who like to make roundish leaves for some reason. Okay, so very gentle prylene green, and I say, oh, that's not enough. And so intensity, I go back and kind of dip some more, okay? Yeah, just some people's preference, and it's like not quite my preference to do round leaves, but I will do them because geranium had round leaves, and you know, in nature there's a lot of round leaves, and so I have to kind of, you know, have to be true to nature, right? And so I'm thinking of putting a leaves all over here also, and then we will do the background, okay? And the background is kind of fun because we're gonna, you know, kind of here and there drop in a very, very soft, very soft violet all the way over here and there, okay? And so let me think. Okay, let's change back to my flow brush here, okay? Or I can use my I haven't used this one for a long time. My not a long time, my happy dots, you know, not a long time, just I actually used it yesterday when I was practicing. And so let's just do that, okay? As we're doing the leaf, this one is going to be more fantasy like, okay? And pull the color out from over here. See, that's why I will point it out to you why I like a paintbrush with a point, right? Because then I can get into this area very, very easily. And let me not forget our indigo, okay? Because we're gonna use indigo a lot. So let's, because, you know, you go into the dark area, you can use indigo because it's darker. Okay, you see a leaf that's coming out. And then I'm going to kind of, when I pull the color out, I'm going to, you know, kind of mix it in with the background, okay? So you can see the leaf coming out, you can see it, and now you see it, and now it's gone. Okay, that's what I do with the background. And so now we're doing the background. We're beginning stage of the background now. Okay, and I like to, you know, make it so it's very, very close to the flower. I mean to the image, okay? And then, you know, we need to learn to be consistent, right? As we're going around, I'll show you in a minute. But I think you know what I'm talking about. I talk about those kind of things all the time. Okay, let's do some greenish. I'm just picking it out of this mix, okay? Just on the background, whatever we can get our hands on. Okay, and then as we go, sometimes we want to say, oh, let's drop some yellow on here, okay? And this is, you know, this is when the time, like, since I have made a goal to explain about mud more clearly to you guys, this is the time when you really need to be very, very aware of muddy, okay? Now I'm going to come and put a little flower head right here, a little soft flower over here. So I'm going to let this area dry. Then it is just like what my problem shooting last time, right? The reason why I'm doing that is because I do not want to put in the purple and have it mixed together, okay, with the yellow. The opposite color of yellow, the complementary color, is purple, right? And so we know that if we put them together while they're wet, then they will definitely make mud. And nature is very funny to us. In a plant, there's always, I mean not always, like a lot of time, complementary color exists in a plant. Okay, and so when that is the case, then we will need to be a little bit. Now I'm going to, you know, show you daringly. I'm going to put a little bit of purple of a suggestion, because you know why? I didn't use a lot of water, so I know that whatever this indigo plus prylene green is not going to run into my purple, right? So I'm able to just kind of put a little blossom there. Okay? Put a little blossom there and let it exist over there and be happy. You see that? Now, that kind of thing, I want you guys to not be frustrated with yourself and say, you know, I can't do it. The reason why is probably because your page is very, very wet, okay? And so when you learn to control, you know, and that I can't do that for you, you need to try to do that yourself. You know, when you learn to control the consistency of the water, you will see that you can do it. And you can actually kind of, you know, do something like that, right? Just kind of suddenly plop a complementary color on it. But those, you will accomplish that. I can almost promise you, with time and with a lot of practice, okay? Because, you know, all I have to do is I bend my head and say, hey, you know, oh, okay, I know that there's no water that's going to, you know, come into this area, right? And so I can comfortably do what I wanted to do. And so that's what I just did over there, and it's really kind of fun. And now I'm going to use a little bit more intense of a prylene green, okay? And you know, and just kind of suggest the stem or the area that support the blossom, okay? And then I'm going to just do that, okay? So that I can do a, you know, a very gentle and soft violet right here, okay? And then I'm going to even come in and soften it a little bit more. Isn't that fun? Isn't that kind of fun? And I'm going to take some indigo and drop it over here. Now, because I also know that indigo and this purple actually kind of like each other. They're not going to make mud, and so I can just like put that right there. And all those I will kind of talk to you about as we go, right? And then you will know for yourself, you know, as you practice with me, then, oh yeah, and so that become part of you. You have, you know, I have given that knowledge to you so that you can use it in your future painting if you desire to, you know, not always follow me and just decide to do something on your own, right? Now, I also know that this painting is very, very intense in certain color, okay? So I will not hesitate to, as I go, to drop in some of the ultramarine violet, because what that color does is it brighten, you know, give your eye a area of rest, you know, give you some rest, okay? And then what else will give you the rest is that bright yellow that I put in the middle, okay? So we have to take advantage of that, okay? And use that. Now these two also will kind of make mud. I don't think they will make too bad of a mud, but because my experience tell me that, okay, I'm not going to allow those two to mix together. And so that because of your experience while you're doing more of these background, then you understand that, you know, I'm not going to be afraid. I'm not going to be afraid because I know, because I'm an artist, I know how much I can put on where. And as but if you are a very, very beginner and you are a little bit hesitant, then don't worry about it, okay? You just wait until complementary color are dry, like the color in the opposite spectrum of the color wheel that I show you in my problem shooting, and then you will just wait, okay? Like wait till it's dry before you like what I'm doing right here, okay? Wait till it's dry before you you know, you can see that I'm actually talking a lot about today about the color and making mud, you know, because it's just re-emphasizing what I just told you, and I like to do that, what I just told you in my last video. I know that making mud is I just dropped prylene green and indigo, you know, can just mix and mix and mix, okay, and they will just love each other. They won't quarrel, and they won't become enemy, which is mud, okay? Now I want the quinacridone violet to be more intense, okay? So see, and this is already dry, right? And so I'm very, very liberal with putting this color there, okay? So I hope that, you know, if I error in not explaining carefully of what I'm doing, I'm going to repent, and as of right now, let you guys know and know my thought, almost my thought, almost every single one of my thought as I go. But the problem with doing that is, you guys understand that I like to talk about stories. And if I tell you every single one of my thought, then our story will have to, you know, wait until some other time, which is fine. But I was just telling you that how my daughter and I just absolutely, okay, now this is Indigo, okay? You see how Indigo and that Violet, they're like, they just love, I mean, you can just tell they look so good right next to each other. Now, because I have Indigo over here, so on the other side of the stems, I decided that to carry that along, okay? Because it is the background, it is the atmosphere, and I don't want to, you know, be not consistent. You see that? Okay? And if you, as you know, is a beginner, and then you lose the stem, don't worry, okay? Go back and put it back. Oh, I told you a while ago when we were painting that I'm going to do it now. I'm going to use quin violet, okay? I say that there's two petal over there, right? And now I'm using this to separate them. You see? You know? So sometimes if your two petals run together, don't worry, okay? You can always like do that. And then concerning the stems, okay, I was just telling you, like this stem is still very good, but in order to show you what I meant is, like, you know, after things are kind of dryish, you can come back and put your stem back. If you don't, if you feel like while you're doing the background, the stem is gone, and then you're kind of sad, but don't be sad, you know, you can rescue it, okay? And then I'm going to, like, right here, and whenever I put this dioxazine purple, it is a suggestion of another petal over there, okay? And so you can actually, you know, do fairies shape or whatever shape you want, okay? But, you know, this kind of fantasy, kind of background looking things will, you know, kind of, watercolor is very, very good at that, right? And if it is like in a child's room, like if you give it to a granddaughter or something, you know, then she will be able to see what she want to see, right? But of course, nothing really compensate for the, you know, real going outside and playing in nature, right? Because that is all, you know, very, very sweet. You know, I love, you know, doing that. And as I go, I will tell you more story about my daughter and I, and, you know, the stuff we do is really kind of fun. We play with ants, we play with those roly-poly bugs, you know, because, you know, that's how I wanted her childhood to be like. You know, when I'm outside, you know, working on my garden, I used to have vegetable garden. I have to give it up because the deer came in and eat them, and there's so many deers around here. And I told you that we have a dog around here, and his name is Gunner, and I think that he's a very good dog because I watch him grow up, and he knows me, you know, and but I get mad at him because he is useless. I saw him when he was younger. He actually run after the deers, and now he just, like, maybe he's older now, maybe I don't think he's that old, but he was here when my daughter was here, and so maybe he's old, I don't know. And he doesn't go after the deer anymore, so I'm like a little upset with him. It's say, what are you good for if you don't go after the deers? Yeah, now you can see I'm putting a little bit yellow outside, so I'm like, you know, finishing this up because you know, it's fun, and I wanted to do that. And let's get this number 2, okay, back out. And now I'm going to do you know, just you know, use my brush and kind of do another blossom over here. But the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to make sure that it's soft, and so as soon as I put this on, I'm coming in to very much soften it, okay? Not as sharp edges as some of these. Okay? And then I know that I need a thicker brush, okay? I'm going with that coarse brush that that artist doesn't like. And come in here and let's see how I do the petal. Okay, how about some coming out here? Okay. And one coming down here and out here. Isn't that fun? I have seen so many different you know, shape. It's just funny, you know, and they all just kind of mix. And I wish I can see a violet patch. I really do, you know. It's just good for me, you know, and good for I guess all of us, you know, to be able to see things that they don't, you know, like I guess somebody's once upon a time decided that pansy is, you know, is greater, you know, and maybe that's just because people likes that and they wanted pansy. I can understand that. I absolutely love pansies, but you know, is it necessary to get rid of the violet? That's my question, you know. And that's my 2 cents, you know. So this is kind of fantasy, right? It's almost like a little fairy. I'm going into the mind of a child and thinking about what they would like, you know, and kind of painting according to that, you know. Okay, and then gently just soften this area and let your green go in, you know. It doesn't really matter. And you might just make a very pretty mistake here too. Not that I call it a mistake or a pretty creation of a fairy, you know, yourself. Okay, this is prylene green, and isn't that a beautiful green color? And I'm going to use that to pull out some color down here, okay? To just kind of suggest the ground. You know, I told you that earlier I was going to, you know, try to thought about doing a posy, and a posy meaning a bunch of stems together and maybe put some daisy with it, you know, and decided against it because you know, I am that kind of artist that I like, you know, because of the sentiment, I guess, you know, because we are really talking about, you know, a period of time that is not here anymore, right? And so in my mind, as I was painting, I thought about a lot of fantasy, about a lot of children playing outside and, you know, and watching the flower grow. And, you know, at this time, May is coming, Mother's Day is coming. They decided to, you know, give that to mommy, right? And so you know, I think of it that way. If we had time, which we don't, and don't worry, you know, it's not a sad thing. It's okay, you know. I would. Haven't seen ladybugs. I might put a. I don't know. I haven't seen ladybugs yet, but I could put a ladybug over here, and you guys could too. Okay, but I'm not going to because I haven't drawn it. That's the one thing, and I wasn't planning on doing that. I don't have my red color bowl out. You know, I was there was a person on YouTube comment asking me and say, you know, you do have room in here that you could put a palette over here, but this is my palette. See, that's the problem. That's my problem. I can't really put palette there because every one of my things is in little dishes, and I have to explain to you, okay, really quick why I do that, because it's very simple and very logical. I buy things when they are on sale. Okay, and so when this quinacridone violet was on sale, I couldn't use it up fast enough, so I had to pull the aluminum off, and you know, you can see this look like a tube, right? And then I had to use the tube because like I say, I'm a very frugal person. I do not like to waste things when they harden. I know that the color pigment are still good, right? So what I do is I do things like that. Now this brush, because it is a synthetic and so coarse, so I can see that I don't have a lot of and so I changed to my Happy Dot. I don't have a lot of moisture. It doesn't hold a lot of moisture, and when you're doing background, you should have a lot of moisture, okay? And so you know, I put tubes in, and then I have to do it this way. Instead of having a palette, I put them into little tubes in the little bowls, and so that I can use that. And I have this for, I would say this at least 6 years, at least 6 years. You know, I'm not sure, it could be more than that. I hope I have enough light that you guys are seeing, but if I don't, then you guys turn it to the brightest, right? And you can also zoom in on me too, though. I know, you know that you can do that. Okay, and this just put some yellow here to brighten, and suggestion of something. How about suggesting the fantasy of a child, you know, that is playing outside, you know? It's very, very sweet. I don't have a lot of flower that my children can pick, and so they don't used to pick me flowers from my garden, and I don't know how I feel about that if I have roses. But the reason I didn't do roses is because I get hurt one time. I got a big scar on my arm, and so my husband was so upset that he actually went and threw away the rose bush because it hurt me, and it was totally my fault. I got too close to it, and so we don't have roses or anything like that. And but I have peonies, and every time the peonies bloom, which the shoots are coming out right now, every time they bloom, I will share with all of my neighbors, ladies, because I think that they are, you know, Heavenly Father gave that to us. They are happier when they're being shared. So I don't just like let them droop to the ground. I just like put them in vases, you know, and give it to all of my neighbors and the people that are in distress and, you know, or sick or unhappy. You know, I'll go out and, you know, give it out to them. I like that, you know. And so, but my children would not dare to touch my peonies because the bloom is so huge, you know. They felt like they're ruining something of mommy's, you know, so they wouldn't do that. Anyway, and my grandchildren also really, really like flowers. And so it is just, you know, very, very cool things to... I think that's all we're going to do today. Maybe just to balance it off, we might put a little bit of yellow. And don't worry about putting yellow next to indigo, okay? If they mix together, they will just become a beautiful green. Okay, and so I hope that you understand my wishes, that I don't want to, you know, make a list for you. I do want you to watch my video, and then I will give you, as we go, all these tips. And so this is it, and I'm going to say goodbye, and I hope that you guys have fun doing this violet with me. And please subscribe to me, and that's the only way I can know that you really like what I'm doing. And say hi if you desire. You don't have to. And I love you guys very much for your support and friendship. And until next time, okay? Goodbye.